Welcome back to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. This is Eurus, your host, and I'm with my co-host, Rain.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say the episode number.
Episode number 30.
Oh, okay, got it.
Man, okay.
It's been a week.
Yeah, it's been a week. We definitely, a lot of different things happened over the last week, and unrelated to the podcast, but it was just kind of really tough to record. And on top of that, the case that we chose to talk about this week is also like one of the harder ones to prepare for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
you also lost your phone at one point, and I was like, might as well make a podcast episode about it. Remember that?
I lost my phone.
Yeah, you were asking me, have you seen my phone? I put it here somewhere, and we couldn't find it anywhere else. And I was like, might as well make another podcast episode about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that. I think that would be a short research. So, yeah, Dyatlov Pass incident. You might ask us, why are we talking about Dyatlov Pass incident? Something that has been officially solved, allegedly, by the Russian authorities a few years ago. And, this is a famous mystery that
It's just really cool, okay? Scary.
Most of you people have heard about. And so the official theory is that the 9 hikers who have lost their lives in the late 50s in Soviet Ural Mountains have died due to avalanche. However, it seems like the Russian authorities only had avalanche and some other forces of nature as the only possible lines of inquiry that they would be investigating. So they were not going to investigate any other more, let's put it this way, conspiratorial outcomes or scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it's a good time to kind of revisit this great mystery that took lives of really promising young students and one older man who tagged along with the hikers, who was also a World War II veteran who had also passed away. And let's talk about the case.
Let's go for it.
In February of 1959, 9 experienced Soviet hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute mysteriously died in the northern Ural Mountains. The team of hikers was led by a hiker named Igor Dyatlov. The group had set up camp on the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl, and it's a mountain top or something like that. Overnight, something caused them to cut their way out of their tents and flee in the freezing wilderness. They were dressed inadequately, especially for the extremely harsh conditions and terrible weather that happened on that night. An investigation found that 6 of the hikers died of hypothermia and the other 3 suffered fatal physical trauma, including skull fractures and chest injuries, which is bizarre because it seems like a portion of the hikers died of mysterious, fatal physical trauma. That's kind of strange. Some bodies were found in a creek with missing eyes and tongues. I think 2 of the bodies were missing tongues. One of the bodies was missing his eyebrows. The Soviet authorities concluded that a compelling natural force was to blame. That's how the official investigation was shut down in 1959. It was a compelling natural force without any kind of more concrete explanation. Over the years, theories have ranged from avalanches and infrasound-induced panic to military tests and even animal attacks. And the Russian Yeti, the Menk was also theorized. That's an interesting theory. A 2020 Russian investigation pointed to an avalanche as the most likely cause. The next year, in 21, scientific study supported this line of thinking. The study was conducted by Switzerland University professors, so this was kind of like another party who suggested this was a avalanche. It came outside of Russia. And despite these findings, the Dyatlov Pass incident still remains one of the most haunting and debated mysteries to this day. What have you heard about the Dyatlov Pass before I even told you that we're going to be talking about? And also, have we ever talked about Dyatlov Pass? Because I've talked about Dyatlov Pass, I think, once, way back in the day. This had been like several years ago that I've talked about Dyatlov Pass. I don't think we talked about it.
No, as far as I know, no, we never talked about this. Although it's one of the classics, you know? Like when you are a bit of a newbie, when I was starting to read more about true crime and mysteries, this is one of the top mysteries, no? It's like every single time I open like a Reddit thread or something, it's always there. It's very popular, I would say. Maybe because of the whole kind of creepy, eerie vibe surrounding it, this case, or maybe because it was Soviet Union, which added more to the mystery of it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a combination of all of these things, you know? It's just so weird to think about.
Yeah?
To think about that, you know, there were like these students who were hiking in a very, you know, isolated locations.
Yeah. Actually, I was supposed to say I did not understand that part. Like, why would you even want to go hiking in such an isolated place?
I completely understand it.
Why?
It's 59, it's Soviet Russia, this is not Moscow, this is, I think, well, now, you know, the university that they studied in was in the modern day Yekaterinburg. Yekaterinburg is one of the biggest cities in Russia, but it's still kind of like tucked away deep into the Russian mainland. So it's not like one of the, you know, let's put it this way, like cities that, you know, you would have just city stuff to do, like St. Petersburg or Moscow. I feel like back in the day, Yekaterinburg, I think it was called Sverdlovsk. It was tucked away in such a location where, you know, going out, hiking, it's kind of fun because Russia...
There's nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean, Russia in 59. What else?
Soviet Union at that?
Yeah, what else will you do? And honestly, for a certain type of people, I could see how going on these hikes is kind of a fun activity. I mean, honestly, it sounds like it's a fun activity even for me. I would do it, but maybe with more modern gear, let's put it that way.
That's crazy. During winter, though.
I mean, it's the bigger challenge for the group.
Now, it's just crazy. And for our listeners who are not so familiar with Russian geography, could you explain, or could you try to point out where exactly, or as much as you can, the Ural Mountains are at?
So Ural Mountains are basically the mountain range in Russia that divides the Asian part of Russia with the European part of Russia. So on the western side of the Ural Mountains lies, you know, Moscow and St. Petersburg and the vast majority of the Russian population. And on the eastern part of those mountains lies the Siberian wilderness with a lot more land than on the western part.
And less people.
With less people, yeah.
Basically in the middle of nowhere.
You could say that, yeah. It's really isolated. I went on Google Maps. I tried to kind of go on Google Street View, and around the area where this whole thing happened, where this whole incident happened, there is no Google Street View at all.
I'm actually surprised that there was, or there is even a Google Street View around that area.
There is none. There are just those little dots where, you know, someone kind of like
Took a picture.
Did the 360 picture.
Oh.
That's all they got. I mean, and I'm not surprised. I mean, there's no roads.
True.
There's nothing there. So Yeah, let's kind of get into the story. And, this is not that simple, as we will kind of start delving into the story and delving into different accounts of what people said. This will not be that simple. By the way, can you say anything right now?
I'm saying something right now.
Yeah, just wanted to check that your mic works perfect.
Awesome. And before we begin, I just want to say this is one of those cases that before I tried diving in deeper, I thought it was like one of those, hikers went up the mountain and some weird things happened. That's it. I did not know, and I was very surprised that there were studies about it. I even found like a study with literally formulas and
About the
diagrams.
case?
Yeah.
Was it on some Dyatlov Pass website?
No, it wasn't, but I think it's in one of those, those websites where people are uploading their studies, thesis, dissertations.
Oh, you mean someone actually wrote a thesis on Dyatlov Pass incident?
Yeah, and how like an avalanche, like a slab kind of fell onto them, something like that.
I mean, makes sense to me. Why not? It's a good case study.
Yeah, very much so, but I'm just very surprised at the amount of coverage this case
Oh yeah,
has.
it's a big case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, go on.
No, I think it's time. Let's go through the story, and then I'm telling you, things will come up in the story that are not so simple. This is not a simple case. There are things that will not make sense. There are weird things that we're going to be talking about right now, and it's going to be really strange at some points during this story. It's if you go to Wikipedia, not everything is on the Wikipedia. I will be bringing up stuff that is not on the Wikipedia, and it's going to be bizarre at some points of the story. But let's proceed. Igor Dyatlov, he was a 23-year-old radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute. Nowadays, it's called the Ural Federal University. Quick background. Well, not my own background. I didn't grow up in the Soviet Union, but I will tell you this much. Getting into a university back in the Soviet Union times was a very hard thing to do.
Weren't you saying something about your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandparents grew up in the Soviet Union, and from all the stories that I could tell from my grandfather, it was a very hard thing to do to get into like it was very dramatic. They could let you go at any like semester. There was no playing around, you know what I mean? There was a very limited amount of let's put it this way, like people that could join.
Very prestigious, as you would say it.
Yeah, and if you screw up on some assignment, they will let you go real quick.
Real tough work.
Yeah, so these people that were going hiking, they were the elite youth of, Sverdlovsk. Igor assembled a group of 9 hikers for the trip, and most of them were fellow students of the university. Some of them were still studying. Some of them had already finished their studies. Oh, by the way, can you pull out the file?
I have it ready.
Oh, good. Not necessarily right now, but there will be some images that I think we should take a look at. So the initial group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, but one member of the group later returned because of health issues. This was a hiker named Yuri Yudin. So Yuri, without even knowing at the time, most likely saved his own life by not fully proceeding with the hiking expedition. Each member of the group was an experienced grade 2 hiker with ski tour experience, and upon finishing this trek that they had planned, they would all become grade 3 hikers, which is the top level of hiking that is possible to achieve at that point in the Soviet Union. So we have Igor Dyatlov, the leader of the group. He was 23. He was the 5th year radio engineering student, and he was one of the most experienced athletes in the group. We have Yuri Doroshenko. He was studying power economics. He was 21. We have Ludmila Dubinina. She was 20, and she was the youngest member of the trek. She was studying economics. And there is an interesting story about Ludmila. Apparently, Ludmila had been shot accidentally by a hunter and survived a 50-mile journey back to civilization on one of her previous expeditions.
Oh my gosh, I have no words.
And then she got
Still.
right back to it.
I would never step foot into the wilderness after that.
There was Georgy Krivoshenko, 23, engineering student, and he was a close friend of Igor, the main guy, let's put it this way. He graduated 2 years before, and he was at some point working as an engineer at the Mayak nuclear complex in a secret town called Chelyabinsk 40. Okay, so Georgy, he was already working on some top secret stuff even before the trekking started. At 23, you already have top secret government work experience. Dude, at 23, I had a call center job. So it's a different environment. What are you thinking?
That these are not just amateurs. Because I'm thinking more of like, in a way that they were kind of like smart students.
Oh,
But like, they were just exploring, and only. Who's that guy again? Yuri. What's his first name? Dyatlov? No, Igor.
Igor Dyatlov.
Yeah, Igor was the only one who's like super experienced. But so far, it seems like all of them could have easily survived this if, of course, if that unfortunate, mysterious event didn't happen.
I mean, everything was going good up until, the night of the incident.
And I'm also, sorry, just want to say this really quickly. I was also thinking at how they look and the names sound like grandparents. You know what I mean? Like grandparents these days.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There was Alexander Kolovatov. He was studying nuclear physics. He was 24. There was Zinaida Kolmogrova. She was 22. She was a radio engineering student, and she was a classmate of Igor Dyatlov. So these were the only two classmates, Zinaida and Igor. There was also Rustem Slobodin. He was an engineering student. There was Nikolai Thibu Bringoles. He was basically
French?
Yeah, he was the son of a French communist who was repressed by Stalin. So Joseph Stalin had sent Nikolai's father, who was French, he was a French communist, to work in a gulag, and his father almost died in the gulag. As far as I understand, I didn't look into too much into Nikolai's father's background, but interesting, development there. Yuri Yudin, he was studying economics, and he was the lone survivor of the group because he turned back due to an injury before the journey, before the hike even began. And then we have the last person. Some people think he's the most interesting person of the whole group. His name is Semyon Zolotirov. So Semyon, he was 38, so he was notably older than the rest of the students, and he was a sports instructor. He had fought in World War II. He was added to the group unexpectedly by the university's administration a couple of days before the group was due to set off. And he was much older than the other students in the group, and he was largely unknown to the rest of the group. So,
do you have any other information on him? Like, it seems like he's just a mysterious guy who just got added into the group, but maybe he was a student there as well?
So it says in my research that he was a sports instructor. I believe maybe for the
University, so
For
he
the-
was working for the
yeah, maybe he was working for the university. I don't know.
and maybe he was added for safety purposes.
Yeah, or maybe he was trying to get the grade 3
Mountain
hiking.
thingy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have images of all of the students. I think you could see this picture. What do you think about it? It's honestly, I would just say they do look like
Grandparents these days. I'm so sorry. That's all I could think of.
yeah.
The hair, the outfit. It feels like they're grandparents right
I'm
now.
not gonna lie, I've seen a similar picture of my grandfather when he's young. Yeah, like
How
look,
about your grandma?
mm,
The haircut.
yeah, maybe I've also seen it, but I could specifically remember seeing like my grandpa could be any of these guys, honestly. The goal of the expedition was to reach Otorten, which is a mountain 10 kilometers north of the site where the hikers passed away. So they kind of got really close to their final destination. This route was estimated as Category 3, and the group undertook this route in February, which is the most difficult time to try to make it happen. The group arrived by train from modern day Yekaterinburg to Ivdel. Ivdel is a town at the center of the northern province of Sverdlovsk Oblast in the early morning of January 25th. That's when they arrived. By the way, this is all happening in 1959. They took a truck to Vizhai. Vizhai is a small village that is basically the last inhabited settlement to the north. And this is the last time I think they were in some sort of a civilization before they finally started trekking. We have an image of Vizhai. I mean, honestly,
Don't ask me to describe what I'm looking at.
I was going to describe it.
Okay, good.
I only see a building,
Yes, and everywhere is just imagine
snowy,
mountainy, slow, snowy slope.
very isolating.
Yeah.
On-
Looks like a wallpaper actually.
It does a little bit, right? On January 27th, they began their trek towards Gora or Torten, basically the destination. The next day, on January 28th, one member of the group, Yuri Yudin, who had several health issues, turned back because of a knee and joint pain that made him unable to continue the hike. Basically, this most likely saved his life. Diaries and cameras found around their last campsite made it possible to track the group's route up to the day preceding to the incident. On January 31st, the group had arrived at the edge of a highland area and began to prepare for climbing. In a wooded valley, they stored surplus food and equipment that would be used on their trip back. I think it's kind of really cool how, they had a bunch of food that they just left behind for them to kind of come back for it later.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Because it's basically, less weight to carry. Interesting, I didn't even think that they would be doing something like that. We have an image, we have some pictures. It's kind of, for me, I will say this, it's really cool that they were taking pictures on this trip, and you wouldn't expect someone in like 1959 Soviet Russia to like just be taking pictures all over the place, and it seems like they were having a good time. Kind of not that
Yeah.
not that different from how people would have fun nowadays, right?
To be honest, the first picture kind of looks a little bit like AI, but maybe it was a camera setting. We don't know for sure. But they just
It's
look like
definitely real.
yeah. I know it's just the whole thing kind of looks a bit AI.
Oh, like it was
the
generated.
quality, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, going back, it really looked like they were having fun. I could see a couple of the hikers, like, I don't know, hugging or like playing around in the picture.
Yeah, so it wasn't just, some serious Soviet elite nuclear students who are just,
Yeah,
like
just like
strict and
I
like on a
need to,
mission.
yeah, I need to reach the top to get my,
No, this was
yeah.
more fun.
It's more of like, okay, we're going on an adventure and
Let's see what happens.
get recognized or something.
You see that other picture? It's the last known picture.
I don't know what they're doing here. Are they digging for something? It looks like they were digging for something. I don't know, but I don't know what though.
For me, it's kind of hard to even. For looking at this last known photo of the 9 hikers alive, I don't even understand what is happening in the picture.
Because it doesn't look like they were. Maybe they were digging a little bit for a pathway.
Maybe.
Because it seemed like from the picture, the snow was too thick, like way above the knee level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
could see that.
it kind of seemed like for me, they might be making a path for them to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
It seems so. I'm just guessing here.
That's a good guess, man, because I have no idea what are they doing in this last picture. The next day, the hikers started to move through the pass. It seems they had planned initially to go over the pass and make camp for the next night on the opposite side of this kind of mountain pass, but because of worsening weather conditions, snowstorms, and decreasing visibility, they lost their direction and they deviated west towards the top of Kholat Syakhl, which is the, I guess, mountain top that they were not supposed to be approaching according to their initial plan. When they realized their mistake, the group decided to set up camp there on the slope of the mountain rather than move another 1.5 kilometers or roughly 1 mile downhill to a forested area that would have offered some shelter from the bad weather. Now, the lone survivor, Yuri Yudin, the guy who turned back, he said that he thinks maybe Igor Dyatlov did not want to lose the altitude that they had gained because, they spent some time walking up the mountain. They didn't want to like go down the mountain. And therefore, they decided to practice camping on the mountain slope. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, it's kind of impossible to say what was the motivation to like set up camp on the edge of the mountain.
I would agree with Yuri because I'm thinking if I was one of them and I was just one of this high achieving individual who just wants to reach the top of the mountain, why would I want to go back when I'm already 1.5 kilometers away?
That makes perfect sense to me as well.
I mean, I do agree that maybe if they only turned back, it would have been safer for them. But hey, we understand them. They don't want to lose their progress.
Yeah. Before leaving, in general, on the trip, Igor Dyatlov had agreed that he would be sending a telegram to their sports club as soon as the group returned to Vizhai. Vizhai is probably the only civilized location that has a telegram.
What's a telegram though?
Telegram is... You never heard about Telegram?
Only the app.
Oh my god, you never heard about Telegram? It's basically like this thing how you could leave messages.
Is it kind of like a phone?
Similar. Honestly, I don't know exactly how it works, but I know back in the day they were using telegrams to like send messages. It's like before phones were a thing.
Okay, go on. I'll quickly Google what it looks like.
Okay. So it was expected that, Dyatlov would be sending the telegram no later than February 12th from Vizhai. But he had told Yuri Yudin, the guy who was turning back, that he expected the trip to take longer than, potentially February 12th for them to be back to Vizhai. So when the 12th happened and passed, no one immediately started panicking because delays of a few days were common with such expeditions. However, on February 20th, the families of the hiking group demanded a rescue mission, and therefore the rescue mission started, initially consisting of volunteers, students, and teachers, and later the army and the local police forces became involved. Planes and helicopters were ordered to join the operation. Okay, did you find it?
Yes, but now I'm confused. How could one bring it?
What do you mean?
Because from Google Images, at first it showed the application, but when I Googled Telegram old version,
Old
It-
version?
yeah.
Really? You Google Telegram old version?
it was a Google suggestion.
Oh man.
It looks like some sort of like code thingy
Yeah.
where you would enter a code.
Yeah, something like that. So no, the one Telegram is in, Yekaterinburg, the other one is Vizhai. So you just go in Vizhai in some building, you tap on the Telegram thingy, and then you send out the message to Yekaterinburg Telegram. You don't take it with you.
For some reason, I thought they took it with them.
No. So they were gonna have to send it back from Vizhai.
Okay, listeners, take it easy on me, okay?
It's fine. Don't worry about it. On February 26th, so this is 6 days into the searches, they found the badly damaged tent on the top of Kholat Syakhl, basically the place where the group set up camp. The campsite baffled the search party. Mikhail Sharavin was a student who had found the tent. He said that the tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty, and all of the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind. So I have some more information about the tent. Inside of the tent, the rescuers found a blanket and some rucksacks lined up neatly, and a pile of boots in one corner. There was also the route map, official papers, money, and a flask of alcohol. Next to that, the search party spotted a plate full of salo. Salo is basically white pork fat. It's a Slavic delicacy. And most people who are listening to this podcast, I bet they have never even heard about this thing. But in this part of, let's put it this way, Europe, it's a very common thing, especially back in the day. So basically, it looks like from what was found inside of the tent is that they were having what seems like dinner. They were about to have dinner, and things kind of went bad for some reason.
Or let's put it this way, interrupted their dinner time.
Yeah. Investigators also found out that the tent had been cut open from inside, so means that something caused them to cut open their tent rapidly and flee the tent. 9 sets of footprints were left by people wearing only socks or a single shoe. Even some barefoot tracks have been on the ground. They were leading down to the edge of a nearby wood on the opposite side of the pass. And it was basically the footprints were leading 1.5 kilometers to the northeast, so that's around 1 mile. After 500 meters, or 1,600 feet, from the tent, the tracks were covered with snow at that point. At the forest's edge, where the forest begins, like the mountaintop is somewhere far away, and then the forest edge starts. So at the edge of the forest, under a large Siberian pine tree, the searchers found visible remains of a small fire, and there were the first two bodies that had been discovered close to that big tree. It was Georgy Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They both were shoeless, and they were dressed only in their underwear. Think about it. They were completely naked in freezing conditions. The branches on that same tree were broken up to 5 meters high. So this means that there was this big tree and its branches were broken up. So it's likely that someone was climbing up that big Russian pine tree, and they broke up the sticks, maybe to gather firewood, or maybe
Maybe they ran away from the camp and they couldn't find it.
And so they wanted to get some altitude to
try to search for the tent if they could have.
That makes sense. The only thing that kind of doesn't make sense in this
The campfire.
No, it's the visibility was probably so poor, so I don't think that going up a couple of meters on a tree will make you see anything in the
Desperate
distance.
moments, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Who knows? So more interesting stuff here, and this is where the weird stuff is happening, okay? According to some sources, Yuri Doroshenko, he was brown purple in his complexion, brown purple, and he had gray foam coming from his right cheek and gray liquid coming from his mouth. Okay, Yuri Doroshenko's body had been burned. His hair was burned on one side of his head, and he had a charred sock. So I just assumed that the burn marks are basically from them trying to keep themselves warm, and they were so frozen that they had to get so close to the fire where the fire literally burned their bodies, and they didn't even feel it anymore.
Yes, I agree with that.
The other victim, or let's put it this way, a hiker who had passed away, Yuri Krivoshenko. It's Krivoshenko. Yuri Krivoshenko.
I mean, this is a tough surname to pronounce, so no one's blaming you.
Krivonishenko. He had bitten off a piece of his own knuckle. A chunk of flesh was found in his mouth. He also had blackened fingers and third-degree burns on a shin and a foot. And the hands of the two hikers that were found dead next to the pine tree were scraped away, and the branches above them were torn down as if the two men had tried desperately to seek shelter from something or someone in the tree. Well, then again, we have also other explanations, like they may have been looking for something, like their campsite, Between the pine tree and the camp, the searchers found 3 more corpses: Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogrova, and Rustim Slobodin. They died in poses suggesting that they were attempting to return to the tent. They were found at distances of 300, 500, and 600 meters from the tree. And we have images of them, and these are not going on the YouTube, but I will put it this way, these images really look very real, very real.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe them.
Like real bodies buried in snow.
Yeah, and some of their poses, I guess, do look like they are trying their way to claw back towards the tent from the pine tree. So at some point, they all rushed out of the tent, and now they were trying to claw their way back into the tent. But this is only 3 of them who tried to claw their way back, but unfortunately, they had not made it back. Rustem Slobodin had basically, he was a long distance runner, and he was one of the shyest members of the group. He was found on 5th of March with a fractured skull, okay? So he was one of the people who were clawing their way back to the tent. So Rustem had a fractured skull. His body was better dressed than the others found so far. He was wearing a long sleeve undershirt and sweater, 2 pairs of trousers, 4 pairs of socks, and 1 felt boot on his right foot. His watch had stopped at 8:45 in the morning. So I think that there's a chance that maybe Rustem was already wearing clothing from one of the 2 hikers that had passed away under the pine tree. Maybe the 2 hikers that were found under the pine tree, they already passed away, and these 3 individuals that were found clawing their way back to the tent, maybe these are the people that have survived longer. And Rustem had taken clothing off one of his sadly passed away colleagues.
Potentially.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Finding the remaining 4 hikers took more than 2 months. They finally were found on May 4th under 4 meters of snow in a ravine 75 meters further into the woods from the pine tree. 3 of the 4 were better dressed than the others, and there were signs that some clothing of those who had died first had been removed for use by others. So I do think that maybe at some point all of them were at this pine tree. I think some of them got dressed better when some of them, either started experiencing paradoxical undressing induced by hypothermia, or they had already died and they took their clothing. And some of them started making their way back to the tent, but they didn't manage. And others, one way or another, ended up in a ravine 75 meters away. It's a big question if they wanted to be there or if they fell into it. Could be that they fell into it, and the other 3 that were found hiking back towards the tent, they were trying to get some supplies to maybe save them from the ravine. I'm just like shooting out random suggestions right now. What do you think about all of this? I mean, you have been so silent right now. I want you to share your thoughts about the whole thing so far.
I was thinking more of like maybe... No, I completely agree with you with all of that undressing and dying of hypothermia. Although I'm kind of thinking more that is there a possibility that since they were already preparing for dinner and maybe they were all inside the tent, and since there were a lot of people in that tent, it was so warm that they had to take off some of the clothing. And then, I don't know.
Oh yeah, so I feel like maybe they were already even like almost sleep time when
Like
when
dinner
something
and
happened.
sleep time.
Yeah, I think so. So of the people who were found in the ravine, remember there were 4 people found there.
Yeah.
Ludmila Dubinina, the youngest of the group, she was wearing Georgy Krivoshenko's burned, torn trousers. So just to give you a reminder, Georgy is the man who was found under the pine tree. So Ludmila was wearing Georgy's trousers, and they were burnt. So to me it seems like at some point Georgy was really cold, and he was getting so close to the fire under the pine tree that his trousers got burned. Eventually, he had passed away, and Ludmila just took his trousers.
Wouldn't there be burn marks though?
There were.
Oh, the side of his face. No?
Georgi
Was that
had
him?
Georgi had burns, I believe. Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Ooh.
And her left, Ludmila's left foot and shin were wrapped in a torn jacket. So she definitely had items from someone else. Maybe one of the members of the group who had died under the pine tree. A legal inquest started immediately after the 5 bodies were found, and the medical examination found no injuries that might have led to their death, and it was concluded that they had all died of hypothermia. However, Rustem Slobodin had a small crack in his skull, but it was not thought to be a fatal wound. So, yeah, basically, I think, yeah, just my research kind of like notes took us back a little bit. Sorry, I kind of returned a little bit to Rustem Slobodin. So remember, Rustem was one of the 3 people who have passed away trying to claw their way back to the tent, right? So Rustem had a crack in his skull, which is kind of hard to explain, in my opinion.
He fell.
He had head injuries consistent with someone falling and hitting their head over and over again. It wasn't just maybe one time. That's how it was described in some sources.
Maybe there was a cliff?
I don't know, man, but he was the one who
slipped?
He wasn't in the ravine, you know.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Zinaida Kolmogorova, another person who was kind of, passed away by the looks of it, as she was making her way back to the tent. She had a baton-shaped bruise on her side. So almost like she got hit by something. And it was never, I guess, further explained. An examination of the 4 bodies found in the ravine, led to some findings. 3 of the hikers had fatal injuries. So Nikolai, the guy whose dad was a French communist, he had major skull damage. Ludmila, the youngest one, and Semyon, the oldest one, had major chest fractures. According to investigation, the force required to cause such damage would have been extremely high, comparable that to a car crash. However, the most bizarre thing was that these people who had these crazy injuries in the ravine, their soft tissue had no damage. So what that means is that their bones were broken, but on the skin, on the surface level, there were no damages. So,
any idea what happened?
So
there?
basically, they determined that it's impossible for other humans to have caused these injuries, because the force is so strong. The force is way too strong. Which must have caused their injuries. It couldn't be in the human interaction. It had to be in something completely else. What that could be, I do not know. Maybe it's damage caused due to falling. Maybe it's snow slabs hitting them. Or maybe there's an alternative, more conspiratorial explanation, like a potential missile tests by the Soviet military that may have been, tested.
But there weren't any proof of that, though.
I mean, there wouldn't be any proof of that even if it was real, because it was Soviet Union and things were under wraps.
A very shady circumstances.
You were just researching something, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I was researching on something that possibilities and what could have happened, and I really couldn't find anything that would convince me because the more that I listen to you, the crazier it's getting.
So we're kind of getting close to like the ending point of the investigation, and then I'll kind of like tell you more about it. So yeah, stick with me for just a little bit more. All four bodies that were found, at the bottom of the ravine, which is basically like a creek, they were in a running stream of water, and they had soft tissue damage to their head and face. For example, Ludmila, the youngest, she was missing her tongue and her eyes, part of her lips as well as facial tissue and fragment of skull bone. Semyon, the oldest one, his eyeballs were missing, and Alexander Kolovatov, his eyebrows were missing. This is like, I remember, first time ever hearing about this case, this was the most bizarre to me. Do you remember? You also
Yeah.
mentioned it. So the forensic expert performing the post-mortem examination judged that these injuries happened post-mortem because of the location of the bodies in the stream. And honestly, for me, this sounds like a credible explanation. I don't know, like scavengers scavenging out like eyes and tongues specifically. Maybe that's how nature works. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I googled it. I can't remember exactly what I read, but I read something that if a body is partially underwater, the soft tissues would decompose way quicker.
Oh, okay. So maybe this is how you could explain the eyeballs and the tongue
Yeah.
missing.
It's not necessarily because of anything, because I read somewhere, I can't remember the Russian term. I think it's one of the names that you mentioned, but one of them is in English translated as something like the Mountain of Death because it's basically abandoned. There are no animals there. And it's hard to hunt. So I'm not convinced that for some weird reason an animal just showed up and ate the soft tissues.
Because there is no animals.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving a little bit more, the most mysterious out of all of the findings about the people in the ravine were that the clothes of both Alexander Kolovatov and Ludmila Dubinina showed evidence of being radioactive. So now they are in this ravine, and they have strange injuries. Let's put it this way: you can't say it's like clear cut. I will put it this way: to me, as a non-expert, just a complete casual person, strange injuries, and they have radioactivity on their clothes. So don't you think there's a possibility that explosion might be taking place here?
I wouldn't put it past Soviet Union, yes.
What are you trying to research?
Oh, nothing. It's the Ural Mountains, the Dead Mountain or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to research it. But I do think there's definitely a possibility of explosions. But I'm also open to the possibility that they're students. Maybe they were experimenting.
With
Maybe
their
they
own
were
stuff?
Yeah, or maybe they were already radioactive when they were hiking.
You know, these guys are like the types of people that would be exposed to radioactivity in their universities or something, right? Okay,
So I don't find it
that mysterious.
creepy.
Okay, I guess you have a good explanation here. Alexander Kolovatov, one of the people found in the ravine, he was a nuclear physicist student, and he had actually worked at a secret institute in Moscow. Yeah, he was one of the people with the radioactivity in his clothing, so that kind of explains a lot. And he had the wound behind his ear and an oddly twisted neck. Strange injuries. Initial speculation suggested that the indigenous Mansi people, who were basically, like indigenous reindeer herders in the area, had attacked and killed the group for encroaching upon their lands. Several Mansi people have been interrogated, but the investigation indicated that the nature of the death did not support this hypothesis because there were only hikers' footprints visible from the tent to where their bodies were found. And none of the bodies showed any defensive hand-to-hand struggle, so that part of the theories that the Mansi people have been involved, it has been basically discounted. Journalists reporting on the available parts of the inquest at the time also basically found this information that 6 of the group's members died of hypothermia and the other 3 were passed away due to fatal injuries. There were no indications of other possible nearby people on the mountaintop. The tent had been ripped open from the inside. Victims had died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Traces from the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord on foot. Some levels of radiation were found on some of victims' clothing, but I think we already actually kind of talked about all of this stuff right here. And at the time, the official conclusion was that the group members had died because of a compelling natural force, and the inquest officially ceased in May of 1959 as a result of the absence of a guilty party. The files were sent to a secret archive.
Secret archive, okay.
Yeah, and in February of 2019, Russian authorities reopened the investigation into the incident, although only 3 possible explanations were being considered: an avalanche, a slab avalanche, or a hurricane. The possibility of a murder had been completely discounted when the Russian investigation took place in 2019. Alright, so there were also things that I found that were kind of other interesting things connected to the case that I kind of want to bring up really quickly here. Certain other interesting reports and details of the case, okay? So one of the details was that there's this man called Yuri Kuntsevich. He was only 12 at the time of the incident, and he later became the head of the Yekaterinburg-based Dyatlov Foundation. Basically, he has the Dyatlov Foundation. He's running it out of his own apartment. It's like a mini museum to the case. And when he was 12, he attended the funeral for the hikers, because the funeral was taking place basically across the street from where he was living. And he remembers that the bodies had a deep brown tan. Have you heard about this one?
No, but wouldn't that be the side effect of hypothermia?
Deep brown tan?
Or no?
I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Or is it a burn?
I don't know, but that's strange. I don't know if it was ever acknowledged by officials, Another thing that I would say, that there was another group of hikers at the time who were hiking just 50 kilometers away from where the incident happened. And this group reported that they had seen some strange orange spheres in the sky to the north of the night of the incident, on the night of the incident. Similar spheres were observed in Ivdel and adjacent areas continually during the period from February to March. Various independent witnesses came forward and reported these sightings, but they were not noted in the investigation by the Soviet authorities. What do you make of it? Do you believe that it was real, or do you think that it was all fake?
I don't know. It seems too much of a coincidence to be fake.
Yeah, too many people are reporting the same thing.
Yeah, is it like just a natural phenomenon, or was the government involved? And what's with that brown marks or brown tan skin?
I have never heard about it, honestly. And
Same.
also,
Is it like all over their bodies, or only the ones that are exposed to, I don't know, nature? I have so
have
many
no idea.
questions.
Honestly, for me, my first inclination is to think that there is no skin left after like decomposition started. But apparently there was, right? So another thing to mention is that one of the hikers, the female Zinaida, at one point she was Yuri Doroshenko's girlfriend. This is probably new information.
Yeah, I never heard of this one.
But apparently Yuri had broken things up with her, and a letter to a friend discovered a month later revealed that Zinaida was nervous about going on the trip with Yuri. She said, "I really don't know how I'll feel. It's really hard because we are together and yet we're not together." She had fallen in love with him during a previous expedition when he chased off a brown bear with the geologist's hammer. This is real.
I don't know, it's just so odd.
How are they keep coming back to these expeditions?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. One was... Wait, who was it
Shot.
again? Yeah, which one?
Ludmila, the youngest one.
Yeah, she was shot and had to survive miles to get
50 miles.
50 miles, and then like, oh well, I'm fully recovered now, might as well go back. And then another two were chased by a bear and had to fend for themselves, and were like, okay, time to head back.
Yeah, I mean...
I would never step into a mountain or into a forest if that ever happens to me.
I think maybe they just really liked going. That's the only explanation I have. That they really enjoyed going hiking. No matter what happened to them, they would have kept going.
True.
No,
Or
this-
maybe that's their, like, that's what they see themselves doing in the future. Some kind of work related to that.
Could be. So this is where things get kind of weird, and
What do you mean? It's already really weird.
it gets even weirder and unverified.
Okay, so take it with a grain of salt.
For sure. And this is I found on the New Yorker website. Yuri Yudin, the man who survived. Due to his injuries, he had to go back, remember? He maintained that the death of the other hikers was not natural. So according to the New Yorker, he claimed that it was not natural, and not long before he died. In 2013, this man Yuri Yudin had passed away. He declared that his teammates had been taken from the tent at gunpoint and murdered.
Whoa.
And he said that Ludmila may have had her tongue cut out by the killers because she was the most outspoken of the group.
But who would do it?
I don't know.
Who did it?
I
Is
don't
it?
know if this is real because I've only seen this on the New Yorker, so I had to kind of mention it. But I'm telling everyone right now to take this one with a grain of salt.
Okay, but if that's the case, since we're considering all of the possibilities that we can here, who would do it? Is there some sort of military base around that area? I don't know, rebel camp?
So maybe it would be KGB officers who would be trying to silence the hikers after they ran into something they were not supposed to run into in those mountains.
But these are students.
Who some of them already worked in top secret stuff.
Yeah, and these are like the elites. So I don't
They're
know.
not the elites. They're just good students. But I wouldn't say they're
No,
not
it's like-
from elite backgrounds.
Oh, really? No. Like, I meant like academically.
Yeah, academically. Remember, Nikolai's father was repressed. So
No, I meant academically. Like,
yeah,
they're
definitely.
not just random students.
No,
They could contribute to
the society.
the society if given the chance. So, and they're obviously trying to achieve more. So, if that's the case, then I don't know. I don't know. For someone whose grandparents lived in the Soviet Union, what do you think? Do you think the KGB actually silenced them, or do you think if that's the case, then the KGB would have, I don't know, like promoted them or something?
I have no idea, honestly. I have no idea. I never talked about the KGB with my grandparents. I don't think they had any anything to do with the KGB.
No, I meant like the Soviet Union, like how strict it is and all.
I think it was strict, but honestly, I have no idea. But yeah, it's kind of like, cause my grandparents are kind of like they were like similar. They were like similar age actually to these hikers. At the same time, yeah, so they were like kind of like similar age. Now that
Watch out for part 2 where we interview yours' grandfather.
Wait, 59? 59 minus 20 is 39, right? So 39, yeah. You know, the funny thing is my grandparents are literally the same age as these people.
Okay, I guess it's
So-
time
so-
to
so they- so-
visit your grandpa and ask about it.
So
What
maybe
did
they
you hear about
yeah,
it?
maybe they would have some good reference here. I don't know, honestly, how to answer that. In 2008, a 3-foot-long piece of metal was found in the area. A 3-foot-long piece of metal.
Could be from the tent, no?
According to the Dyatlov Foundation, which took possession of it, the metal is part of a Soviet ballistic missile. Once again, the Dyatlov Foundation is ran outside of one man's apartment, and this man is promoting military involvement scenario. So, grain of salt.
Then again, this guy is very brave to
He's,
be too outspoken about this
he's the
matter.
same person
In the middle of
saw
Russia.
who saw the bodies that had brown tans, and I'm not gonna say that he didn't see it. I believe him that he's telling the truth.
Yeah, same here.
And now this is the bizarre stuff that we're gonna get into. There is a photo from Yuri Krivoshenko's camera that some say shows the glowing spheres, and you have to whip out the phone and check out the images because I'm not sure if you could even find it here. It's one of these images that kind of is hard to understand what you even see. It's like this blurry black picture with some, no, just go down. I'll try to show you. Yes, this one.
Oh, come on. This one could be a ghost.
This is, I think, maybe camera roll as it ends.
Yeah, it's basically for our listeners who couldn't really tune into our YouTube channel. It's basically those orbs. You know, sometimes pictures that were printed out back in the day, they have these like glowing orbs that A could be just dust, B could be something wrong with your camera, C in some countries could be a ghost.
In some countries.
Yeah.
Why in some countries?
All of the countries, I guess. Ghosts.
Yeah.
I don't know, I heard something about it that in either Japan or somewhere in Asia, this indicated that there was a ghost within when that picture was taken. Where the orb is at, that was a ghost.
But that's only in Japan.
Or somewhere there. I can't remember exactly.
But if it's somewhere outside of Japan, then it just
could still be a ghost.
okay, but specifically in Japan.
Probably not even Japan. I just can't remember the country.
Some very ghost-prone country.
Yes, I guess.
So-
I believed it, honestly. For the longest time, I was scared of it. But yeah, could be a camera setting, camera defect.
What do you think? I think it's nothing.
I definitely think it's nothing. It's too hard to even make sense of what this picture is about.
I think it's nothing, dude. At least to me, it seems that way.
And what is this, like, crack? There's a little bit of crack at the bottom of the frame.
I do see the crack.
Or a strand of hair.
Could be a strand of hair, honestly. So, with all of this extra strange details out of the way, there's another interesting thing we should discuss. So, remember the authorities from Russia right now, they basically concluded that an avalanche is responsible for the incident. But there are some sources claiming that, well, basically raising very good questions that would make us question if an avalanche even occurred, because from some sources, they say that the physical evidence of an avalanche just wasn't there. And locals familiar with the terrain later said that such a natural disaster simply wouldn't have made sense in the Dyatlov Pass. There was also the fact that when investigators found the bodies, they noted no evidence that an avalanche had occurred any time recently in the region. There was no damage to the tree line, and searchers observed no debris. Furthermore, would the experienced hikers have made camp in a spot that was vulnerable to an avalanche? The avalanche hypothesis was characteristic of most of the theories put forward in the early days of the mystery. It offered a quick, superficially plausible solution to some aspects of the puzzle, but utterly failed to account for others. With official theories leaving lots unexplained, many alternative explanations to the Dyatlov Pass incident have been put forward in the 6 decades since. While many of these are highly elaborate, some are decidedly concrete and straightforward. Some try to explain the hiker's strange behavior and lack of clothing with an in-depth look at the effects of hypothermia. The trauma to the second group of bodies in the ravine was caused by stumbling into the ravine and falling down. So basically all I'm going to say is about this is that apparently there was no sign of an avalanche. So how are they,
And then
according to some sources.
And then right after, they claimed that it was an avalanche.
Well, no. The Soviet authorities claimed that it was a natural force of nature or something like that. Compelling force of nature. But the later on investigation by the Russian authorities claimed that it was an avalanche, most likely.
Okay. That's too vague. Well, the initial one.
Well, for me, the only question is if there was no sign of an avalanche, why are you concluding that it's most likely an avalanche?
Probably because it was the easiest explanation.
Well, in reality, that's probably true.
Yeah.
It is the easiest way to explain this thing without having to cause yourself a huge headache.
Yep.
So there were other theories as well. Okay, so let me walk you through some of this stuff. I know you've been looking into other research, other like explanations, and maybe some of this stuff will kind of align with what you have found as well. Other investigators began to test the theory that the deaths were the result of an argument among the group. Have you ever considered an argument?
No, not at all.
Well, some people think that maybe there could have been an argument that got out of hand, possibly related to a romantic encounter.
Nah, I think they're too smart for that.
Honestly, I was about to say the same. I just don't feel like it was I have to talk about it, but I kind of already have my hesitation.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's like, I know I shot it down immediately. It's just that I know it seems like from the description and all, seems like these are real academics, and I don't think something romantic would hinder them from pursuing their goal.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's not out of the question, I would say, but it's just not likely.
yeah, I just vote against it.
Same. But however, this was, one of the reasons why this is not a good theory is because the Dyatlov hikers would have been no more able to inflict the damage to their compatriots because the force involved in some of the injuries were greater than any human could inflict, with the internal bones being crushed, but you could not make any of these under the circumstances. They could not inflict some injuries like that. With humans effectively ruled out as the culprits behind the Dyatlov Pass incident, there are theories that the KGB or murderous prison escapees were at fault because there were prison systems in Siberia and around the Ural Mountains. After those theories, the biggest, weirdest theory that I ran into, and this is where, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, this is where things get really, really, really weird. This is where it gets the weirdest. Some began to claim that the hikers were killed by a menk. Okay, by a menk.
The Yeti?
It's the Russian Yeti.
Yeah, sorry, I'm also gonna just vote no against
Pull
this.
out the phone. Pull out the phone because the evidence for this one is a blurry photo taken by one of the students of what appears to be something in the distance.
What appears to be another hiker in a distance.
I mean, but it does look weird.
I don't think so. I think it's just, it was unfocused, and I bet the...
But doesn't it look like someone's creeping up to you and you just take a picture? I mean, it's not... Okay, yeah, like...
It looks like an aesthetic picture. It kind of looks like a wallpaper-ish. A creepy wallpaper. But it doesn't feel like it was taken in a rush. In a panic mode.
I mean...
Oh, come on,
I can't verify that.
Cameras back in the day, you know, it couldn't be like just snap and then done.
You have to really stand still for a bit, right?
So, are you really gonna take a picture if someone's stalking you like in this close distance?
Yeah, maybe not, but just the fact that this is one of the pictures, I think maybe this is... Was this the last? Wait. I think this could be... Yeah, a blurry photo found on one of the hikers' cameras showing a dark, faceless figure in the forest, which some interpret as the Yeti. Okay.
Or just a hiker with the hiking gear.
Either way, I will put it this way. This is a weird picture. Even
Definitely.
if it's like a hiker, I mean, why would you First of all, why would you even take this picture? There's no reason to take this picture. All of the other pictures that they had taken in the past seem like, at least the ones that I've seen, seems like they're very simple. They're just doing some activities and it's easy to understand. Every other picture I've seen from the album is an easy, understandable picture. This is the first picture from the album that's really like not like any other pictures, and I can't verify at the moment, but I believe this is the last picture on Doroshenko's camera, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here. But it's a weird picture, man. It basically, for everyone who's listening to us, it's basically
Snow, snow, snow in the middle of it. Dark figure.
no, it's like
with a
woods,
bent arm.
woods, snowy woods, and there's like a dark figure that does look like a yeti. Okay,
I couldn't see it. I'm so sorry.
yeah,
It's just not. What does a yeti look like? Aren't they like supposed to be like furry or something?
I mean, this guy could be furry.
I don't know. I just could see like a ski gear. You know what I mean? Ish.
Still a strange picture, but okay, I'm with you on this one. It does feel like whatever made them leave the tent. Maybe how would this scenario play out? That this yeti approached them at the nighttime?
And went inside the tent and cut it from the inside?
No. They heard the yeti and they fled.
By cutting the tent from the inside instead of just opening it from the... like a regular person?
Yeah, that is true. Very, very... They left the tent in a very quick manner. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and then once they got to run away from the yeti, some set up some fire? As a beacon for the yeti to see them?
Okay, let me just go through
I'm
some
sorry.
some other stuff here. Other sleuths point to the reports of small amounts of radiation detected on some of the bodies, leading to wild theories that the hikers had been killed by some sort of secret radioactive weapon after stumbling into a secret government testing facility or location. Okay, so those who favor this idea stress the strange appearance of the bodies at their funerals because of the brown shade. The corpses had a slightly orange cast, but had radiation been the cause of death, more than a modest levels would have registered when the bodies were examined. The corpses' orange shade isn't surprising given the frigid conditions in which they sat for weeks. They were partly mummified in the cold. Apparently that's the explanation. The secret weapon explanation is popular because it's partially supported by the testimony of another hiking group, one that was camping 50 kilometers away from the Dyatlov Pass team, just like I've mentioned earlier, on the same night. And this other group, apparently they saw those strange orbs floating in the sky at night. The hypothesis goes that the sound of the weapon, like if we're gonna go with the military testing weapons theory, basically it goes that the sound of those weapons made the hikers leave the tent in panic, half clothed, and the first group died of hypothermia while attempting to take shelter from the military ballistic or like some sort of missile blasts by waiting near the tree line, and the second group, having seen the first group freeze, determined to go back for their belongings but fell victim to hypothermia too. But the third group got caught in a fresh missile blast in the ravine and died from injuries. That's how you explain their kind of crazy body injuries.
Now this is more, I would say, believable than the yeti. So sorry for our yeti lovers out there. I just couldn't really believe it. But I'm just right now curious. This mountain, a bunch of students hiked it Is this a rural one or is this a well-known hiking area, scenic spot maybe?
It's definitely rural.
But they were there to grab their, what's that called again? D3 or something?
Yeah, just to kind of complete
The mountaineer
yeah, but
expedition badge. So does that mean
Yeah.
that there were others before them? I'm just curious.
who ventured there?
Who ventured there and actually got the award or something?
Oh, I would say yeah. Someone went there before.
So, in that case, then I'm just thinking, why didn't we hear anything from them? Like, oh, this is a safe path. Oh, wait, there was a Yeti here. Oh, wait, no, the KGB was here. Missiles, bombs.
Well, I could see how things were just like uncoordinated back in the day, and they were really testing. It's not the first time
Definitely,
something
yeah.
like that happened in the Soviet Union, where it just was
It's just
a
interesting
complete
that
disaster.
no one actually reported it. But then again, even if they reported it, who would listen to
I
them?
mean, honestly,
Sorry.
I wouldn't put it past the military back in the day in the Soviet Union just completely fumbling the whole thing and just actually doing tests where civilians would be going and then covering it up.
Sure.
It's not. Let's put it this way. It's
The
not
first time.
not necessarily the first time, but it's not completely unbelievable that
True,
the
I
Soviet
agree with that.
Union was kind of like.
You wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, definitely to like cover this up. Okay, another. Oh, sorry. So this is where things also get interesting. There was this man called Lev Ivanov. He was the chief investigator of the Dyatlov Pass incident. Okay, he was the guy who was supposed to find out what happened back in '59. And he said that I suspected at the time, and am almost certain now, that these bright flying spheres had direct connection to the group's death. That's what he said, allegedly, when he was interviewed by a small Kazakh newspaper in 1990, right after the Soviet Union collapsed. At the time, he was afraid of the Russian authorities or Soviet authorities who told him to basically not progress his investigation. Allegedly, he was told not to investigate any further and just call today.
I'm with this guy. I don't know. If the government tells you to shut up, you would have during Soviet Union, right? Right?
Yeah, of course, for sure. So a few other things I would like to mention. These are literally like the last few things. So one is there was a Mansi woman. Okay, Mansi are the indigenous people in the area. There was a woman named Sanka, and Sanka recalled seeing a mysterious bright burning object in the sky while returning from the forest on the same day. It had a tail and it emitted sparks. Village elders interpreted it as a bad omen, possibly a comet or something harmful. Yuri Kunsevich, the guy who is running the Dyatlov Pass center out of his apartment, he was 12 at the time, and man, I already told you about this information, that he had seen the orange shade on the bodies. Sorry, this is the last thing I want to mention. The last thing I want to mention, and this was intriguing for me, and I don't know if you heard about this one, and this is the last thing I have, honestly. It's been a long podcast, the last one. A man by the name of Oleg Archipov. So Oleg is a researcher and an author from Tyumen. It's a city in Russia. He uncovered interesting details about Dyatlov Pass tragedy through his friendship with Lev Ivanov, the initial investigator that I talked about. Lev Ivanov initially pursued the case seriously. He wanted to get to the bottom of it, no matter what the answer was going to be. But he was told by forensic experts that the student injuries resembled those caused by an explosion wave. However, he abruptly closed the case under pressure from superiors and was later transferred to a remote town. In 1990, as the Soviet Union weakened, Lev Ivanov publicly admitted being shocked by the autopsy results and reports of fireballs in the sky, but he was ordered to suppress his findings. He apologized to the victims' families for hiding the truth. After Lev Ivanov's death, Oleg accessed his personal archive and found more details. The most important details are that there were traces of radiation on the victim's clothing. The KGB, not the police, guarded the morgue during the autopsies. So the KGB,
Wait, what?
Yeah, the KGB, not the police. A large barrel of alcohol was discovered, allegedly used by forensic staff to rub on their bodies, an unusual precaution possibly linked to radiation exposure. So the people who were conducting the autopsy, they rubbed alcohol all over their bodies to prevent them from getting affected by the radiation. Also, noted by Oleg is that dead animals and birds were found in the area. Locals were banned from using well water, and the hunting was prohibited for 4 years. Internal organs were sent for chemical analysis, and those organs were later confiscated alongside with the test results. So Oleg concluded that the hikers may have been exposed to poisonous rocket fuel, or maybe a shockwave of a low-flying jet, which could explain their sudden flight from the tent and severe injuries. And honestly, this to me, out of everything that we talked about, seems like the most compelling piece of information at the moment why this could have been something else.
Yeah, actually, you managed to convince me in this one because at first I was also leaning towards an avalanche, but more in the slab one.
But they said that there was no
like a slab.
visible signs of an avalanche.
No, but like a slab.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a full avalanche, but like a chunk of it.
Oh, okay.
So it fell into their tent, and they were either stuck or were scared of it. They opened the tent from the inside, ran away. Some of them didn't quite make it, and a few of them were like maybe trying to warm themselves up to check if everything's okay, and it just didn't work that way. That's what I was leaning towards, but with all of the information right now and the radiation plus the KGB in the morgue, that's just odd. Why would they be there?
So I think my question is, Lev Ivanov, is he really telling the truth? He is dead, by the way, by now. But back in 1990, was he really telling the truth to the Kazakh newspaper? Or was he just trying to sensationalize everything because it's the fall of the Soviet Union and he was trying to make some quick money?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer, but yeah, you brought a really great point.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. There's
what do you think about it?
nothing. I don't have anything to think about. I think it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, I think avalanche is a really big possibility. I do think that avalanche, if I had to like say off the top of my head, I would probably say avalanche. If I really have to say.
Or is there a possibility that there was such a strong wind? Like maybe, and I'm just shooting in the dark here, like a beginning of a tornado.
Yeah, like basically like a natural explanation other than, like some
And they got scared and opened
Yeah.
the tent from the inside.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think, honestly. I just was trying to like compile everything I found. And honestly, there's even more stuff, especially on this dyatlovpass.com. There's dyatlovpass.com, a really good website that I haven't went through, and it has so much information there, so much other details. So I feel like if we're gonna ever return to this case, I think it would be nice to just leave it as is right now without concluding anything, and then maybe if we ever do a follow-up, it would have to be with more information. And I think maybe like going through some of those documents on dyatlovpass.com. Let's see if this case gets a lot of attention from our listeners, and they would support it. Later on, we could return to it, and but definitely talking about new stuff that we found interesting. It would be maybe a nice time for our audience to just listen to that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. But for this one, before we close this case, I just want to know, because I'm very curious. What are you leaning towards? More, I'm not saying anything specific, but are you leaning towards more of like a natural cause, KGB, or like something conspiratorial, or something more supernatural, something we couldn't explain? You don't necessarily have to pick, just like let me know like which one's
Maybe
more believable for you.
maybe the more natural, because like I need to dig into the other stuff to kind of form a better opinion. So I would say maybe right now I would say that something natural happened, or let's say there wasn't a cover-up. I would like to probably say
But come on, let's not put it past Soviet Union.
no. That's the whole point of doing
Yeah.
a follow-up, to like kind of dig into this stuff. So this could be just like like the first part where we just refresh our memories. And then if we ever return to this thing, we need to return with some specific, concrete stuff, like
And
real.
maybe we could even dig into some
deal.
Russian sites, or maybe your
Yeah.
grandpa heard something about it.
Nah, they didn't hear nothing about it.
Oh, come on.
I doubt it. But yeah, I would really say we need to dig into it next time. If we're coming back to this topic, we need to really have some specific stuff.
This is a massive case, though.
Yeah. But thank you guys. I mean, I would like to wrap it up. Leave your thoughts. What do you guys think? And as always, we will talk to you very soon on the next podcast episode.
Thank you for listening. Bye bye.
Bye.